All right, so we're going to start with the administrator awards. Now, these have a different deadline. The administrator award deadline is December 10th. December 10th. That includes state directors, college administrators. College administrators is not the college president or CEO. The Shirley B. Gordon Award is for specifically CEOs and college presidents. We have Michael Bennett, the Lifetime Achievement Award. This is for a retiring college president who has received the Shirley B. Gordon. All right, those awards are due December 10th, 5 o'clock. They're online, and you get the little boxes and you fill the information in. On the ptk.org, when you go to the awards, it'll take you over to the collaboration teams for you to write. All right, you can write your essays. The person who you're nominating cannot be on that list for the collaboration. They have their own section that they will answer for you. All right, so these are not a surprise award. Right now, the surprise comes in for them if they win. Right, but it's not a surprise in writing. Because there's a whole section that asks them questions that they will have to reply to. Okay? And then you put that into an essay format and help them with that section. Okay? So it's a little bit different. This particular one is a little different.
Question, why would you actually nominate people for this?
Because they're awesome and they helped you.
And I have money. Money.
Do you want money?
Recognition. Give them recognition, get them involved so they can know the organization and want to help and give you guys more money, give you guys more support.
So when you say money, you're talking about scholarship money.
No, we're talking about for your chapter.
It can be many different things. Their support can be many different forms. Okay? Many times, this is not always and it's not required. Okay? But many times when a chapter will nominate, say, one of the college administrators, what happens is they're involved in the writing process, so they see all that you're going through just on their nomination, and they know you have more to write. Okay? And then they realize you're recognizing them. Generally what that does is then, in turn, you get their support for other things. It could be space. Some of you have offices on your campus. I've seen that. Some of you have comp time for your advisors where they don't have to teach 5 classes, they get to teach 4, and the 5th class is given to them as an advisor work time so that they can dedicate time to you. Others, they may give that advisor funding to help you guys go to conferences. So it can be in many forms. There are some chapters that their college administration, it seems like every time they nominate someone, their inductions somehow miraculously find ways of being paid for. And they get lots of yummy dinners. So just an idea, it sometimes can help. But make sure that that person meets the criteria. And you really actually want to work on this starting in the spring for the following year. You don't really want to do this last minute unless that person really has been active with your group, because then you kind of have to fit them into the questions that they're asking. Right. Headquarters also gives you a tips specifically for the administrators. You want to look at the idea of how they help build a strong foundation for Phi Theta Kappa on that campus. They talk about developing scholarship opportunities. How did that particular person help those opportunities and expand the opportunities for members and students on their campus for scholarships, funding, activities and events, supporting the Phi Theta Kappa programs such as College Project and Honors in Action, and then increasing visibility and understanding, like through the staff, faculty, and students. How do they help you with those things? So it's not always the easiest criteria on that one. Yes?
I have a question on our administrator award. The administrator that we've chosen to nominate has become our interim college president.
Mhm.
would that disqualify her for the administrator award?
Contact headquarters. It would depend on how long it's been.
She doesn't start till Monday.
It's just not.
I would call them and double check, because they've been known to change a few things every once in a while. Who are we looking at?
Joseph.
Joseph, you have a question?
Yeah, the outline specifically say that person must have been in their administrative role on that campus for a number of years.
Right.
So
Right, well, and she's been there, but not as president. I mean, the president really does start Monday. As an
And
interim,
the
but she's
president
been-
nominee, she will not be eligible. Many of the other chapters are in that same boat at the moment.
I believe it's 5 years, actually. They have to be in that capacity for 5 years.
No, no.
They're talking
What you need to do is contact headquarters
Yeah, that's what
and
she's
just
done.
ask them if you can nominate her for the administrator. They should say yes, but I don't want to step on toes and tell you definitely. Because she is not eligible for the other one.
And I think that's what the question was.
I have a question.
Oh,
Yes.
Sharon's-
If an administrator has already won that award, can he be nominated again?
They can only win this award once.
Okay.
And that is on the rubric sheet for it.
There's
And if you're not sure if that person has been nominated and won, call headquarters, they'll tell you. But if they did not win, you can nominate them over and over again, but you want to make sure what you're putting in the essay isn't the same stuff from before.
There's also a checklist that they have to fill out, and it's like you said earlier, look over that checklist and a rubric and stuff like that to make sure that they would be qualified to win. There's no guarantee that they'll get it, that they'll win.
Okay, so deadline is when?
So, Dad,
December 10th.
5 o'clock, 5 p.m.
Yay, you have 1 month to get this one done.
This is only for the administrator awards.
Only for administrators. All the others have different deadlines. Literally.
It's like 3 different deadlines.
That's the next set. All right, any more questions on the administrator awards? Just to pitch in, Molly, Mary, Nancy, coordinators, do you guys have any more to throw in on this one?
Well, my only caveat is this. While nominating an administrator can be an excellent tool politically for you as a chapter on your campus, don't nominate them unless they really deserve it.
Right.
So save up, wait until they really earn it. And that's a specific example that we've had on our campus. I even had my college president, you know me, I don't think too highly of him, actually came up to me and said, "So did you get that nomination in?" Oh, I said, "Yes, sir, I did." No, I didn't. So while you want to make sure that you are recognizing people on your campus when they're doing great things because it can help you in return, make it a genuine submission. Don't just, have to do it. Does that make sense?
You really want to look through that checklist to make sure that they've been doing those things. And then what we were talking about before about starting in the spring, not waiting until the end. If you have someone that's been very active with your chapter, but they don't quite meet the qualifications this year, work with them. Show them some of the things, the possibilities that you can use to your advantage and for theirs as well. All right? They can be nominated as many times as you need them to be. They can only win once. Okay?
So invite them to an induction, have them speak at inductions, have them come to your events, have them do stuff, and get involved.
Questions on that? All right, so the next section, we're going to move to the advisor awards. How many of you know if all of your advisors have been nominated and won these awards? A few. How do you find out? You can ask them, but you can also ask headquarters. Okay? You can contact headquarters and ask. Okay? The Paragon Award is for you to nominate advisors that you feel have done an extraordinary job helping your chapter. And I hope that you all feel that all of them have, because it's not an easy job. And and they don't get paid. None of us actually get paid that I know of.
Ken does. Hush
Ken
money.
smiles.
It's hush money.
Hush money.
The Paragon Award is for advisors who have been with the with your chapter for less than 4 years. Okay? Less than 4 years. And those individuals can only win the Paragon Award once.
In 4 years or once? Forever?
Once ever.
Once within those 4 years, because they're only eligible for those 4 years.
That's just a way of thanking them for that baptism by fire, because if you can imagine how confused you are as a new member, they're trying to herd all of you cats. Okay, and so that's one good way of recognizing them for sticking with it for 4 years or less. It's kind of like a hook.
Or in,
Yeah.
in some circumstances, 30 plus years.
Right? Get them involved, recognize them. Maybe they'll hang around, and then they can hang around for 34 years.
All right. The deadline for the years, this is not the writing deadline. I want to absolutely be clear on that. The deadline for the way that headquarters counts the years is by December 10th. As long as they have served under 4 years as of December 10th, they are eligible as long as they have not won this before. Again, headquarters has some kind of tips and tricks as well. These are all on the website. Nothing fancy, nothing new. Okay? But your advisor, you want to focus on with this one, chapter development, development of chapter members. How do they get them involved? What opportunities do they have for them? Mentoring them, things like that. Phi Theta Kappa programming, which kind of defaults usually back to 5-star competitive edge, the 5-star chapter development, college project, honors and action. This one also asks if they are certified in the leadership development program, that they can actually teach the leadership program. I believe all of us in here currently are. Couple. Most of them, yeah. Again, on that one, if you're not sure if they are certified, ask them. Okay? When we do that certification, we go off-site and we're gone for an entire weekend. We have an intense training of doing 11 units of 11 chapters in 2 days. That way we get the whole shebang. And we get to do the skits and all, just like you get to do in your class. So make sure, same thing on your administrator awards. If your administrator is a certified leadership instructor, which many are in our area in Texas, many of our administrators are also certified. Many of the administrators and advisors have been able to find funds to purchase textbooks for the program if you have that on your campus. Those are some of the things you also may want to highlight in your recommendation if they have that component. The other areas they're looking at, regional and international society participation. Attending the conferences, sure, but serving in other capacities, being a presenter or facilitator. Texas does an excellent job of offering opportunities for advisors to present workshops, to be seminar leaders at Honors Institute, leadership conferences, things like that. So ask your advisors, see if they've done that before. That will help put their package together for you. All right. Questions on Paragon. Deadline for the time frame of them being an advisor, less than 4 years, is December 10th. The deadline for the advisor awards. This is also the same deadline as your individual awards, your chapter officers, regional officers, things like that. The deadline for that is on January 14th. Okay? January, huh?
5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's January 14th. The deadline is at 5 p.m. Now, for those of you on the webcam, if you're in a different state and you're not in Central Time Zone, please be aware it is Central Time Zone. 5 p.m. Okay. Now, last year, when everybody was trying to frantically submit, right about 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Crash.
their server crashed
Crash.
because there were too many people on it trying to upload. So I strongly suggest that you don't wait until the last day to submit your applications. Just be aware of that. Yes.
And be aware of the fact that you guys are so lucky in this technological age. A million years ago, people would get in caravans and drive to headquarters and go, here's the paperwork at 4:59.
We used to have a caravan that there was usually about 5 or 6 of us that would pick up chapter packets as we went along through on I-20.
Then this internet thing came along. Internet.
Lots of stops at Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of stops at Cracker Barrel will help. All right. Now, for the advisor nominees, the questions are pretty much the same. Describe 3 examples how they contributed to the development of the chapter. Describe 3 examples how they inspire officers. Again, though, these need to be totally separate answers. Don't duplicate information. All right? They want to see a well-rounded person in these applications. So don't use the same 3 events, don't use the same 3 activities, or the same 3 examples. Up to 3 examples of how they led the chapter to participate in regional activities. Or international, by the way. And then the last part of these nominations requires a letter of recommendation from the college president or the CEO or an administrator. Okay? So make sure that you work with them as well to get a good letter of recommendation. I've seen some college presidents' letter of recommendation. She is so good on our campus. She does lots of things, and she works really hard.
And she's very helpful.
Yeah, that doesn't tell me how or what you've done. And you kind of have to, it's really hard to have to go back to your college president and say, we really need something better. All right? So again, if you'll take a copy of what you want them to address, if they have a vita, provide that as well, right? And provide something from the officers that you specifically would like for them to cover. But give them the information that they need. Don't just wait and hope and pray that they remember last spring at this event, our advisor did a really good job and set it all up. Your college president probably won't know that. Just saying. Yeah.
I was going to say, what my officers did last year when they wrote mine is they actually gave my college president what they wrote, and he said that was the most meaningful thing to him because it had the feeling in there with it, and he was able to write something much more meaningful as well. Yeah.
Now, I will have to say, I know some college presidents that don't want that. If it was me, I'd much rather have something like that because like, oh, hey. It gives you a lot more to write about. Present it. If they want to use it, it's there for them. If they don't, okay, fine. I say that. I had a specific college president ask about that. And they're like, well, they brought me this, but I don't want to use it. It's totally up to you. You don't have to. So she actually had something completely different to talk about, which also fit the criteria. So you can do that. But it really is much more helpful to your college president when they're writing an advisor letter if you can provide them with as much detail and as much information. Let them know how much that person really means to you. Because there have been some advisors, I know the ones here in this room I can account for right now, I know what you've done. You have done so much more and you mean so much more to the students, but if that is not conveyed to your college president, they don't know to put that in there. Right? They just think, oh yeah, they want the advisor nominated, okay, great. And if you have chapters where some of you may have 2 or 3 eligible for Paragon, you can still write 2 or 3, but that also means the college president has to write 2 or 3 letters of recommendation. And if you don't provide them more specific details about that particular advisor, the letter pretty much is the exact same with the change of name. I've seen many come through, and that's what they end up looking like. Nancy, you look puzzled.
No, I have a question. If you have an administrator who will great letter and a president who will not, is it still better to try to get a better letter out of the president?
On the application, it says that you can use an administrator. So I would go with the better letter. That would be I would agree with Dr. Harris on that one. I would go with the better letter. Titles, yeah, they're great, but if you get a crummy letter from them, it's not going to help.
Right.
Yeah. But again, that's my opinion. Any questions on the paragon? Okay. The next one is the distinguished. The next one on advisor is the Distinguished Advisor Award. Your distinguished advisors, again, this is also one they can only win one time. Okay? But this is for those advisors who have been 4 years or more. 4 years or more. And again, you can nominate them over and over and over and over until they win. Once they win, they're no longer eligible.
And that's again by December 10th of that year.
The time frame for them to start, yes, would be the December 10th. The how long they've been in service as an advisor. The deadline date for the application is again that January 14th deadline, 5 o'clock. Yes.
Could it be an advisor that's been our advisor for years and years and just left us, or is that a criteria that can't be?
If they are still on the rosters with headquarters, they're still eligible.
So they're often blocking the
Right. You may want to see about nominating them for an individual award like a Friend of Texas award. Since they're no longer advisors, something like that, you could put it in there for the Texas region. Or you could honor that advisor at an induction, something like that. Your campus usually also has student life awards, but you can nominate them usually for something through student life as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so Distinguished Advisor Award, 4 or more years, they can only win once. So for those advisors who've won, and it's been years ago, there's another category. It's called the Continued Excellence Award. They can only win this award every other year. So if your advisor won it last year, they are not eligible this year for that award. Okay? Ask your advisor. They don't mind telling you if they won. Okay? This is a really cool one to win, all right? All of them are. Okay? So ask them. If you're not sure and they're not around, you can always call headquarters. They'll tell you which ones that advisor has won or not won yet. You cannot be eligible for a Continued Excellence Award if you have not won a Distinguished Chapter or Advisor Award. Okay?
Well, typically, they've already won the Paragon and Distinguished and then Continued Excellence, so they probably have won 3 advisor awards by this time. Robert?
You're saying that the distinguished advisor, if they get it, say got it last year, they're not eligible for continuing excellence this year, or
Yes.
Correct.
they are? Okay.
They are not eligible.
Okay.
It's an every other year thing.
But the great thing about it, I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
What he said was they won distinguished advisor last year, not continued excellence.
Oh, then yeah, they would be eligible this year
And, okay,
because that's a new
so
category.
you could go from distinguished advisor to continuing excellence the following year, and then 2 years later, another continuing excellence. And
Right.
So on. Okay.
Right. I misunderstood the question, yes.
Thank you.
And many chapters have 2 advisors.
That's what I was
If
about
you
to.
have 2 advisors, flip-flop them. One year do one, the next year do the other, every other year. And then that way you never have to worry about it. You know which one's up this year, and they never feel slighted because they know that the other person's turn is this year. Okay? They're usually good about rotating those things. Especially if they've both already won that Distinguished Advisor Award. That means they're both working hard. Okay? A lot of your chapters, some of them will do, they'll nominate for internationals and regionals for continued excellence, and then the other advisor, you're not leaving them high and dry. Nominate them for a student activities award or student life award on your campus. So then you're still getting both of them. Okay. Any questions on those 3 awards? Those are the advisor awards. And those are due when?
January 14th.
January 14th at
5 p.m. Central Standard Time.
You're only talking international awards right here, right? You're not talking any of the regional awards? Okay.
We're going to get to those in a little bit. Okay. The last set will be the individual awards.
And these are you.
Yeah, these are all about you guys. Now, if you are part of a regional officer team, your regional coordinator will be the ones doing these nominations. Now, they're going to want some information from you, all right? They're not going to just do it on their own. They need your help. But we have the Distinguished Regional Officer Team, and then we also have the Distinguished Regional Officer, okay? Now, in some of the regions, the team helps write. Others, the regional coordinator does all of it, okay? But unless you're a regional officer, this one really won't apply to you. Unless you plan on running next year for a regional office position and you win, then you can look forward to something like this. Okay? Okay. What they're looking for, though, is basically impact, what you've done, what difference you've made, how have you helped the region get its goals, all right? And then 3 examples, always 3 examples. All right, so moving on. All right, so we have the officers. How many of you are officers again? Raise your hand for me. Members, we're coming to you in a minute. Okay. So for Distinguished Officer Award and Distinguished Officer Team Award, 2 separate categories, and you can be nominated for both. If your team is nominated, then you may be also nominated as one of the officers in the individual category. Okay? It does not matter your position, what they're looking for. Previously, we had a category where they nominated chapter presidents, and then they were able to nominate one other officer. What happens if the president isn't the one doing the most work?
Because that never happens.
Okay? So what they did was they did change that to where now it's just 2 officers. Each one of your teams have such different ways of choosing those representatives. I couldn't even begin to go into the multitude of those, so I'm not going to try to go into those, but mostly tell you what they're really looking for. Now, again, the individual awards, not administrator, but the individual awards here also fall under that January 14th deadline.
For the officer team, it's an advisor nomination, so you can help with them or give them an outline of stuff you've done, but the advisor writes it, and so when you send your collaboration team, there will be nobody in there except for all the advisors.
All right, so, yes, question?
So for the officer award, that would be a surprise then, right?
What? No, because you're going to need to help the advisor with the input on these.
Yes,
Like,
but she's the one
surprise
who,
the officer would nominate.
It can be.
It depends on how your chapter chooses that.
Oh,
Some of them, the advisors say, okay, the 2 hardest working in the group are you and you, and you're the 2 that we're going to nominate, and then the rest of the officers put the packets together. Others, they go through and write vitas, basically pass around the vitas and say who's done what, who actually meets the criteria better than everyone else. They choose them that way, and you're involved in that process, even though you might be the one picked. It's just so many different ways that chapters pick. It might be a surprise, it might not be a surprise. But once the writing starts, they're going to need information from you. So in the end, it won't be a surprise for the submission itself in the end.
yeah, sometimes they do it by vote, but it just depends on how you guys want to do it.
And each one of the little sections are very, 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 very small. You only get 400 words total. Yeah. Word count limit, 400 words per question. Okay. And they're looking at how the officers develop the teamwork atmosphere on your campus and in the group. How did officers assist in the chapter meeting its goals? And then how did the team promote, of course, honors and action, college project, society engagement, 5-star competitive edge, all that kind of stuff. collegefish.org. I know a bunch of you guys, how many of you have done the College Fish, had College Fish days or something? Some of you, yeah. Completion days. I know some of you still have them coming because we have some really screwy things going on in, I know, Dallas County. Fort Mountain View had to do 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
We are.
So for the distinguished officer and the distinguished member, all right, they both have to be completed by another officer or member of the chapter. You don't get to write your own letter.
So that also means that the person being nominated should not be on the collaboration team. They can be on the other one, but they should not be on the collaboration team. When you set up your teams from PTK.org.
So you have 2 separate sections. You have one section that's completed by another officer or a member or a team, all right, another team. The second section is to be completed by the chapter advisor. So please, again, remember, if you're asking the advisor to do advisory letter of recommendations, and all of these things are falling at similar times, if you're also nominating, say, your officer team, your 2 chapter officers, and your 1 distinguished member, that's 4 additional letters that your advisor has to write. Okay? So please make sure that you provide all of the necessary information so they can do a good job. And the questions are very similar to the team ones under those categories. How did you develop chapter goals? How did you work with teamwork? How did you benefit the members of your chapter? Impact that you've made? Okay. Projects that you led? Things like that. And that's, again, all in your VDEC. It should be all in your VDEC. There's a whole section on how is that individual a model, a role model or a mentor for other officers, chapter members, things like that. All right. So you want to make sure to cover those as well. Distinguished Member Award, you can only nominate 1. So we get 2 nominations for distinguished chapter officer. We get 1 nomination for outstanding member. To clarify, on the officer award, all right. If they were put on the leadership team as an officer in the system with headquarters, all right, this would include the chapter president as well, right, the officer team. If you are a chairperson who has been appointed, not elected, those people are eligible for the member award, not the officer award. Okay? All right. So the Distinguished Member Award is for team leaders or committee chairs, as long as their leadership position was an appointed position, not elected, and it can be just a very active member as well. They don't have to be a head of a committee. Yes.
So if we have co-chairs that are not officers, but they're elected by the chapter, would that fall under chapter officer? Or
if they are not elected but appointed, then they would be eligible for the member award. But at that point, you'd have to decide which one you're nominating.
Were they reported to headquarters as officers?
No.
Then they would be eligible. Also, if they have been if they were like an officer at one point in time and then they became a member, they are not eligible because they might still be in the system as officers. So if they were,
has to be out of the system for the entire 2014 calendar year.
nominating a member or an officer, it's a great way to recognize them for all the work they have done and stuff like that. But ultimately, also, you want to look at people that deserve it, but also has the potential to win. Because you do want to actually win an award. It looks good on stage. It looks good to bring back college awards. So when you think about nominating people look at the rubrics, look at the questions, look at what they've done, and so you can see if they have even the possibility to win. So that's another way you want to look at who you want to nominate and stuff like that. And it is a great way for them to get recognized. And there's other ways, if, say, they don't get nominated, but they got nominated for All USA, or they got nominated for the Texas Hall of Honor. There's other ways to spread out the awards and stuff like that. And if you have chapter awards and stuff like that, they can get nominated for that.
Okay. Questions on the individual awards? When are the administrator awards due?
January 14th at 5 p.m.
Administrator. December 10th. You're not the only one, that's why we review. December 10th, 5 p.m. Now, there's not as many being nominated for this, okay? So just, just make sure you get it uploaded. And again, this is not something you just want to, oh, we're nominating this person this year. Oh, we're nominating this person this year. Make sure they actually deserve to be nominated. Okay? You really need to make sure they deserve that. What about the advisor and individual awards dates? January 14th, that's right, 5 p.m. Okay? I do strongly urge you to get them in the day before and do not wait. Put your deadline as the 13th at the latest. That way you don't have to deal with system issues, slow uploads. Anybody done with their writing yet? I know the proofers are. I've already started editing some chapters Hallmark, so. I had 2 of them when we were in Kansas. Yeah.
Now, let me get you correction. You said the advisors and the administrator is the 10th, or just the administrators?
Just the administrators are due on the 10th of December.
Right. And
The
rest
advisor and individual student awards are on January 14th.
That's the way I had it written down, but I thought you said it differently.
All right.
It's you,
Any other
it's you,
questions on
Robert.
that?
It's just you.
Okay. Stand up, stretch, take about a 5-minute break. We will come right back, but we're coming back to college project, and that's a big one. Restrooms are right over here if you need them.